What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been seeing a lot of people online kind of worried about giving Arc Raiders a try, whether they are veterans of the extraction shooter genre or they're brand new coming into this and they just don't know what to do. They're a little worried about how things are going to be, if they're going to like it or if they're not going to like it, if it's going to be a bit too overwhelming for them. Maybe they have busy schedules and they just don't have a lot of time to learn all the bits and details. But I'm here to tell you guys that this game is not threatening at all to people who don't have much time on their hands. And I'll be honest, it is hands down one of the most casual extraction shooters I have personally ever played. But in today's video, I wanted to try to help a lot of the newcomers out, to give them a bit more confidence when it comes to hopping into this game. So I came up with a list of different things that, a lot of newcomers should be focusing on. Keep in mind, for all the veterans, this is not for you. This list is not going to affect you whatsoever, especially if you've been putting in a lot of hours into this game. But if you're just starting out and you're curious about Arc Raiders, as long as you listen to a lot of the stuff in this video and you follow these steps, you should be able to accumulate a lot of stuff in your stash. You should be able to be, pretty comfortable with the overall experience, and you shouldn't have to worry about, being low on loot 24/7 when you're going ahead and hopping back into the game. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive on deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe into that bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, guys are interested, go link that channel down in the description of this video. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I have here might be an obvious one to a lot of you guys, especially the vets, but to newcomers, they might not quite understand the concept. But please use your free loadouts. When you go and load into a match, you'll have an option to either use your base loadout, which you're bringing into the match, which again, keep in mind, everything you die with, you lose permanently, so you can't bring it back. And then you'll have an option for a free loadout at the very top. Pick the free loadout and use this to get a handful of games in and understand how it works, how the gunplay is, the maps, understand where to go before actually putting stuff on the line to risk. And also, using free loadouts is a perfect way to start slowly yet eventually building your stash, which moves on to my next thing that a lot of you guys should be focusing on. Hoard a lot of items that are useful for crafting. For example, as you guys can see right here, light ammo needs metal parts and chemicals. Or for weapons, you're going to need metal parts and rubber parts. And this list goes on and on and on, all different types of things you will need. And of course, you can go and manually look at all your workbenches and see what requires what. But start stacking up on a lot of these pieces because it'll make your life a lot easier later down the road when you do start risking a lot of your main loot, because if you lose it, it won't be as salty because you can build 50 more of them whenever you feel like. Also, I think it's very important for a lot of newcomers to understand this. A lot of the items you find in Raid aren't permanent. Just because you see something doesn't mean you can't break it down to something else. As you can see right here, when it comes down to the Rattler, if you right-click it and go down to recycle, you will then see that it's an option to recycle it down for metal parts. And this goes for absolutely everything across the board when it comes to this game. There's some items that I believe you can't recycle, but 9 times out of 10, you can recycle them. And a lot of pieces and parts that people find too complex to get or find on their own can sometimes actually just be broken down from other items. So if you're confused or you're looking to see, what else you might need, or even when it comes to inventory management, if you are running out of space in your backpack while looting, you have the option to recycle some of that stuff and, push it to the side to make room for other things. So just keep that in mind when you're going about your business within Arc Raiders. And also, one last thing while I'm on the topic of, looting for material and stuff like that. I would say prioritize your cash towards your stash. It might be confusing at first, but you can indeed expand your stash when it comes down to the in-game currency that you earn from selling stuff, selling items, that you find in Raid, not, stuff that you purchase in-game. I want to make that very clear. No, you expand your stash by simply, for example, if I have a Rattler, I can sell the Rattler for $1,000, $2,000 and then, use that money to expand my stash when I finally save up enough. Make sure you prioritize this. I know a lot of people want to save up their money and their whole goal is to go into Raid, get a bunch of stuff, sell a bunch of stuff and become a millionaire and then use all that money to buy, a bunch of stuff from the vendors, which is a viable strategy. You could definitely do that. But I think it's a lot more beneficial to stack your items, make sure you can craft stuff on your own. And again, late game, when you do finally level up your workbenches, you can craft some really gnarly stuff, I'm telling you right now. So don't sleep on crafting. So I would suggest prioritizing your cash to expand your storage so you can hold more, instead of actually using that cash to, purchase in-game stuff from the vendors like weapons, ammo, all of that. Just craft it, you know what I'm saying? And I do apologize, I didn't show you guys where to find the, expand storage option. I don't have it anymore because my storage is to the max. But I am hovering at the merge stacks on the left there, as you can see. Right above that, it should be something that says to expand your storage. Like I said, it's not on my screen anymore. I'm already finished. But if you're just hopping into the game, that is where it should tell you to expand everything. And also, don't let anybody tell you not to be a loot goblin. For people who are curious about, leading into the prestige system in this game, which is under the projects tab, obviously you can't get it until you're level 20. But from me hoarding a lot of these basic things, when I unlocked projects, I was able to run through a lot of it. A lot of it, just because I had so much of the stuff already at my disposal. So don't sleep on hoarding things. Don't go over the top, obviously, because you need to make sure you leave yourself some room and, storage for other stuff. But, make sure that you hold on to certain things because it'll eventually help you when you unlock projects. Now, going back to the free kit that a lot of you guys are going to be running if you're new to the game, I want you guys to understand you can actually transfer the free kit to something a little bit better. If you go to one of the vendors, Lance, as you can see right here, a looting MK1 actually sells just for a free loadout. So, free loadouts are very handy in this game. They give you a lot of resources. Not only do they give you freebie weapons that you could bring back to your base, or, free loot because you probably are going to be taking your time and even just screaming out, hey, I just got a free loadout, I don't have anything. Or probably, make sure that raiders don't even want to bother with you because they don't care about your stuff, man. I'm telling you, I was able to stack up a lot off of free loadouts. But at the same time, you can get a lot of augments for completely free. Completely free. You don't have to buy it with any cash. You could just get it with your free loadouts. And that will help you feel like you're taking a step in the correct direction when you finally do, come away from playing with the free loadouts a lot. Also, if you guys are low on craftables, you can actually go to Celeste, and all you need is seeds. And believe it or not, Scrappy, your handy sidekick who goes ahead and gives you all your scraps, will give you plenty of seeds. And you see, my problems, I was always selling them because I thought they were useless. And, you could still go ahead and sell them. But if you ever want to have a little portion of seeds set aside, it's a smart move because you never know when you're going to be in an emergency situation. You just don't have the right craftables and you just need one thing. And bang, there Celeste is. As long as you got some seeds, you can get some stuff from her store. Another thing that I think is very important for casuals to understand is that you can actually track exactly what you need. So when you're in raid, you never have to question yourself, did I need this or did I need that? Oh, I can't remember because some of these parts look alike and I just don't know what's what. If you go to the specific item you want, whether it's an upgrade for a workbench or a weapon that you're looking for, whatever it is, there's actually a section that says track item. And this is crucial, especially in the beginning of the game, because there's a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff that you're going to be upgrading. And there's a lot of stuff to loot in the in-game world. So basically, if you hit track, when you're in the match and you just hit the pause menu and open up your map, basically under where all your missions are, you'll be able to see all the tracked stuff that you have to find. And this will make it a lot easier for all of you guys if you're looking for specific things or just looking for a lot of things and you just can't quite remember what you need in the moment, especially when things are getting hot, Ark is stomping around, raiders are, doing their thing. It's rough, I completely understand. It's rough to keep a track on what needs to be got, but this will help a lot of you guys out in the long run. And for those who don't know just yet, keep in mind, guys, this isn't a video for veterans, people who have been playing the game for a while. This is for newcomers coming into the game. And just to give them a heads up, a head start, there's actually a portion on the skill tree to the right side that allows you to craft items in-game. I believe you can craft armor, meds, traps, so on and so forth, grenades. You can get a decent portion of stuff out of that for, quick emergencies, which once again, if you're in the heat of the moment, you're running out of supplies, but you have actually a lot of stuff in your backpack, and a lot of it can actually be recycled, you could turn that into resources that you need right then and there. This is such a crucial thing to have right away for absolutely everyone. Now, is it necessary to grind right out the gate? Personally, I didn't. I went upwards. I wanted, more movement speed, and I didn't want to run out of breath so quickly. I prioritized that. And then, of course, I trickled over there. But it's definitely something that should be on your radar because, as I stated, it will definitely help you a lot of times when it comes to in-game moments with your raids. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you guys know, before you go ahead and start progressing the tree, just keep in mind that you cannot complete the whole tree necessarily. You're going to have to pick, certain things here and there. And once you run out, the only way you'll be able to reset your tree and try it again is if you go through the prestige system, which again is called projects in-game that you unlock at level 20. I just want to let you guys know this. You can reset it, but it might take a little time for you to be able to reset it. So when you first initially start off, just keep that in the back of your head when you're picking what you want right out the gate. Now, with that stuff being said, let's go to a little survivability tips when it comes to actually playing in-game here. If you're just beginning, I know a lot of people are going to be nervous about raiders. So if you want to try to avoid PvP, I'm going to tell you right now, this won't make you 110%, clear of people not wanting to attack you. But what I noticed is that when you present yourself, before you enter an area, you are more than likely able to find friendly people. A lot of this game is based off of tensions, not knowing where people are at, what they're doing, what's happening. So a lot of the time, when someone is in the building looting and they hear you come in, their tensions go up. And, it goes the same way for you. You cannot tell me that when you're in a building and you hear some footsteps or you hear someone breaching or doing something, your tensions don't automatically go up. But those tensions will indeed go down if that individual came into the building saying, hey, I'm coming in, I'm not here to hurt anybody, I just want some loot. Now, again, this isn't a guarantee, and this is another point that I was going to talk later down the road, but I might as well just say it now. Never, ever, ever, ever let your guard down when it comes to Arc Raiders. Even with the most friendly of people, you never know what is going to happen. Keep your eyes on them at all times. And if you do run to a situation like this, still keep a little distance. Don't completely trust them right away. Yeah, you might, grow some friendships, but at the end of the day, this is a PvPvE shooter, so you never know what is going to happen. But as I stated, if you want a better success rate of not running into more PvP, you want to break the ice early before later, because if you wait until you guys finally see each other, you might have had enough tension to just cause the fight right there and then. It doesn't matter what is said. You guys are probably done. But if you can break it right away before you guys even notice one another, you can really save yourself a lot of time and a lot of deaths if you're just trying to loot and, get in and get out with some successful stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this one is the most crucial of them all, especially when it comes down to solo play, but this transfers over to duos and trios as well. Sound. That is the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen. That is what Arc Raiders is about. Sound cues are everything. Absolutely. You have to learn these sounds. You have to understand what maps make different types of sounds. Like, for example, in Buried City, as you guys see right here, a lot of the time, the map makes like breaching noises. When you breach something, the map has certain things around there, to the atmosphere, I'm assuming, intentionally put in by the devs to kind of keep you on your toes, that sound very similar to these things, which make you jump and makes you nervous. But you have to understand what is what between a raider and just what's happening around you. Also, with this being said, learn how to walk as well, and, be a bit more stealthy about your engagements. This is not a extremely fast-paced shooter. I'll tell you that much, especially with how the health is in this game. You can change the tides of a battle, especially with the third-person angles that you can have in this game. If someone shoots first, that does not necessarily mean that they are going to win that engagement. So you have to take your time. Notice how I don't really push people too aggressively. I kind of think about my plays in between, and I really take advantage of the walking in this game as well. For those who are on mouse and keyboard, I don't know exactly what it is on controller, but you could check the binds. But on mouse and keyboard, it is your V key. Now, if I'm standing up and I'm walking, typically it's a light jog. But if you hit V, you actually walk at a nice steady pace, which is hard to hear. People play off your sounds just as much as you play off their sounds. So you have to make sure that you understand what, an enemy sounds like in that scenario, what they're doing. That's what you sound like to them as well. So whenever you get into an engagement, study how these engagements go out. If they were sprinting, how far were they when they were sprinting that you could hear them completely? And how far were they when they were sprinting that you couldn't hear them at all? Walking, crouch walking, all the stuff breaching. And obviously there's stuff in the skill tree that will make your breaching quieter, your looting quieter. But still, understanding what a lot of sounds in this game are will help your survivability rate tremendously. Whether you want to PvP or whether you don't want to PvP and you want to stay away and, just make sure you keep your loot, sounds will dictate how each and every one of these scenarios go out. Also, a lot of the times when you do get into engagements, make sure you prioritize your health a lot of the time over your shield depending on the scenario. Now, in this particular scenario, there's already 3 people down, so I'm assuming there's probably nobody else. You know, when I took down the first 2 people, I was still a tad bit suspicious. There was a third, and then a motion sensor actually went off, which kind of gave me a hint that, yeah, he might be still lurking around. Lo and behold, he's still there. But after that point, I felt confident enough that, I could chill, put on my armor, heal up at my own pace. But in the heat of combat, keep in mind, depending on what your health is at and what your shield is at, like, let's say you're at 1 HP. If you decide to put your shield on first, you will still die. Absolutely at 1 HP, because although you have a shield, it doesn't completely take away from the fact that your health goes down. In a lot of other games, first you have to take down the shield, then you can take down their health. In Arc Raiders, they both go down. Now, the health, might go down at a different rate than the shield, but still, as I stated, if you're low on HP and you have a full shield, that's not going to help you much, because they're still going to be able to down you in a few amount of shots. So, as I stated, just keep in mind, depending on your scenario, sometimes it might be smarter to bandage up before actually putting on a shield. And of course, there's a lot of other tips I can think of, but this video is getting quite long, so I'm probably going to end it off here with one last thing. Make sure you guys go ahead and get your daily Raider hatch keys. Now, I don't know if you can necessarily cheese 2 in one day, if you can get them at perfect times, and you're that crazy, you'll be up at 1 a.m. and you'll also be up, in the middle of the day to get it. I don't know what you got on your schedule, man, but there's probably a way, but you are guaranteed at least 1 Raider hatch key a day from the security section, from the vendors. And as you can see right here, it's not that expensive. You could probably get this in 1 free loadout raid. And these Raider hatch keys really do make the difference, in, hot battles and raids that you're doing phenomenal. If you don't want to risk going to a legitimate extraction zone, where everybody's going to be kind of chilling around, they're going to hear you, it's going to make a lot of noise, it's going to attract a ton of people. Having one of these in your back pocket, which is actually another tip I forgot to tell all the newcomers, you have a save pocket in this game at the bottom right of your inventory. So whenever you go in, put your most important stuff there, because when you die, that is never going away. And that's usually where I put my Raider hatch key. But this is going to be crucial to have pretty much in all raids, unless you want to do something else, or you could put on a different augment, which will give you 2 save pockets. But if you only have 1 save pocket, depending on if you want to go in with a key card or something like that, I would typically always hold on to this Raider hatch key because, as I stated, it's great. These portions of the map where these hatches are so secluded, very hidden, not much combat, very quiet. And typically, it's a guaranteed extraction if you have one of these bad boys and you're close enough to one. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind. And you can also craft these things as well if you upgrade one of your workbenches enough. So keep that in mind too, that not only can you purchase one a day, you can also craft these bad boys as well. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, go down in the comment section and leave your tips and tricks for any newcomers coming into Arc Raiders down below, because I know for a fact I missed a ton, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can come up with your own tips and tricks for newcomers as well. So please, the more the merrier. The whole purpose of this video is to encourage newcomers to want to try this game out and understand that it's not as intimidating as a lot of people think it is, especially when it comes to extraction shooters. Extraction shooters really have a taste in a lot of people's mouths that they are just hardcore games, not meant for the masses and, a very broad casual audience. But this one right here is made for everyone. And if you just give it a little bit of time, and as I stated, watch these tips to understand the beginning ways of playing the game, I think it will encourage a lot of newcomers to actually give it a shot and see what this game is all about. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, got a link to that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.